Hello everyone, Professor Kurzlook here. So we saw on Monday that Donald Trump announced that if a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine isn't reached within 50 days, that the United States is going to impose tariffs on Russia. So we actually don't trade that much with Russia. The United States doesn't trade that much with Russia. Comparatively speaking, Russia's not a big trading partner. And this is especially true after the full-scale invasion that Russia conducted into Ukraine. But even prior to that, the US doesn't trade that much with Russia. However, Trump also announced that there would be secondary sanctions for countries that continue to trade with Russia if a peace agreement is not signed. And I think this is the more important piece of the announcement. Because the US doesn't trade that much with Russia, economic levers can't really be utilized to put more pressure on Russia. So the US still has some trade with Russia, some commodities still find their way in the US, and then the Russians import some items from the US. But it's a pretty small number. However, those secondary sanctions would put pressure on countries like Turkey and China and India, that if they continue to trade with Russia, that they might see 100% tariff placed on those countries. That's a pretty big pressure point on those countries. So when we think about why might this matter? Again, first, if the US isn't trading with Russia that much, we don't have that much sway economically to pressure Russia to disengage, to find a peace agreement. But if pressure can be put on those other countries, India, China, whatever it is, Turkey, then those countries may put pressure on Russia in a way that they are not now to end the war. Also, if those countries then roll back or cut back trade with Russia, that will hurt the Russian economy, maybe more than just the US alone could hurt the Russian economy. That then could make it harder for Russia to fight its war. We know Russia relies heavily on exports of commodities to support their economy, to support their war machine. So if their economy starts to suffer, then in theory, their ability to fight the war in Ukraine would suffer. So that piece of the Trump threat hasn't received as much attention as I think it should have, because I think that's an important piece of the announcement that Trump put out on Monday. Thank you.